Afterglow Movie Net, Saturday, 10:30 p.m., W5FC.
I'll be starting Skynet on this frequency in about 4 minutes. If you need to use the repeater, please go ahead now. This is N5BB.
This is the W5FC repeater, PL110.9. Meeting on the air first and third Sunday, 7 p.m., W5FC.
Mr. Chairman, I need to make myself very clear. If we uplink now, Skynet will be in control of your military.
But you'll be in control of Skynet, right?
That is correct, sir.
Skynet.
Does anyone need to use the repeater before I start Skynet? This is N5BB Net Control. This is N5BB. My name is Bill. November 5, Bravo, Bravo. I'll be your net control for this session for the Dallas Amateur Radio Club Skynet. Skynet is a weekly net called every Saturday night at 9 p.m. concerning the subject of astronomy and We're interested in the nighttime and daytime sky, astronomy, and space in general. This net is open to all amateurs interested in this topic. We encourage your participation, your comments, and your suggestions for the net. Stations with priority or emergency traffic may enter the net at any time by using approach sign, break, break, and your call sign. This is the directed net. Please do not transmit without direction from your net control. That would be me. Stations are reminded to identify at the end of your transmissions. This weekly net operates on 146.88 megahertz with a PL tone of 110.9. Check-ins via Echolink are possible using W5FC-R station ID or Echolink node 37247. I am looking at Echolink. I'm logged in so I can respond to issues over there. Tonight's topics: astronomy charts, pictures, and live audio video links are available online. Go to www.w5fc.org for the complete list. Remember to tell others about this popular net. All amateur operators are welcome. You do not need to be a member of any amateur radio club to participate. The net is 90 minutes long, structured in several parts, which I'll go through very fast. General announcements: Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas, National Space Society, discussion topic of the evening by Net Control or others. Was Up, space exploration and space history, the constellation of the week, space launches of the week, and recent astronomical discoveries. And if we have time, visible satellite passengers over the next couple of days, and astronomical questions and answers. All amateurs licensed to transmit on this frequency are invited to check in. Now let's start with short time check-ins. If you can't stay very long, please come now with your call sign, your name, and your location. Short time check-ins for Skynet. This is N5BB, Net Control. Let me try again. Do we have any short-time check-ins to Skynet? If so, please come now. Oh, nothing heard. We'll do Echolink later. Next, we'll have general check-ins on RF. Again, we'll delay Echolink a little later. So, RF check-ins. If you'd like to check into Skynet, please come now with your call sign, your name, and your location.
This is Whiskey Bravo, number 4, Mike Foxtrot, India, WB4MFI, Ted, Dallas, low power, long time.
This is Golf Niner, Sierra Golf, Antonio in Dallas, AG9SG. This is Alpha Golf 5, Papa Mike, Rich in Rockwall, AG5PM.
This is Alpha Alpha 5, Alpha Hotel, Robert Richardson.
This is Kilo Golf 5, Uniform Foxtrot Romeo, Jacob Farmers Branch.
This is Kilo Golf 5, Whiskey Victor Lima, James and Carrollton.
Okay, let's pause the short time check-ins there. I recognize WB4MFI. Hello, Ted. AG9SG. Hello, Antonio. AG9PM, AG5PM, Rich. AA5AH, Robert. KG5UFR, Jacob. KG5UNL, James. Do we have any other short-time check-ins to Skynet? If so, please come down. Do any of the stations that have checked in so far have anything they need, any news or any comments they want to need before they leave the net early? If so, please come down. Nothing heard. Now let's look for general check-ins, general RF check-ins, if you'd like to check into the net. And you know, now that I think about it, I think that last round was really general check-ins. I got messed up on my script. I apologize. So anybody that has any general check-ins, please come down. N5BB, Skynet.
This is Kilo India 5 Sierra Zulu Bravo Max in Royce City, also with Kilo 5 Tango Charlie Sierra Tom.
Whiskey Bravo 5 Oscar Zulu Lima, Brenda in Dallas.
Kilo Echo 5, India Charlie X-Ray, Tom, Louisville. Carrollton.
Okay, please hold there. We had a double. The last station is trying to come in. I recognize NV5F Virginia, and who is the other station that doubled?
Kilo Golf 5, Whiskey Victor Lima, James, Carrollton.
Okay. Excuse me. KG5WVL, James and Carrollton. So let me see if I got everybody. I recognize there may be duplicates here. KG5UFR, Jacob. KG5WVL, James. Max, KI5, is it Sierra X-Way Bravo? Is that right, Max?
Hey, Bill, this is Max in Royce City. I say again, Kilo India 5 Sierra Zulu Bravo.
Very good. I just got that letter wrong. KI5SZB, Max, along with K5TCS. Hello, Tom. Thanks for visiting. Hope you're having fun in this part of Texas. WB5OZL, Brenda. K5ICX, Tom. NB5F, Virginia. KG5WVL, James. Do we have any other check-ins for Skynet? If so, please come down.
Thank you for acknowledging it. K5TCS.
Okay, Tom, I'll double with you. Any other stations that would like to check in, please come down.
Kilo 5, Golf, Golf, Golf.
This is Whiskey 5 Golf Uniform Sierra Gus. Portable low power whiskey.
5, Mike, Charlie Delta, Cody in Dallas, low power.
Hey, let's pause there. K5GGG. Good evening. Can you please give us your name and location?
K5GGG. The name is Greg. I am in Corinth, Texas.
Very good, Greg. That's K5GGG. Greg in Corinth. Welcome. W5GUS Portable in Mesquite. Hello, Gus. And K5MCD. Hello, Cody. Do we have any other RF check-ins for Skynet? This is N5BB.
Kilo Charlie 5, Mike, Papa Oscar, Jamie, Mobile, North Dallas.
This is Kilo Golf 5, Alpha Papa Lima, Patrick, Dallas.
Kilo 5, Juliet, Delta Whiskey, John and Coppell.
Okay, I recognize KC5MPO, Jamie, KG5APL, Patrick, K5JDW, John. Do we have any other check-ins to Skynet? This is N5BB, your net control. Okay, Lansing at Echolink. I don't know if all U stations are actually there. I see KB9SGY. David, would you like to check in on voice or text? If so, please let us know where you're located.
B9SGY, David, Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin.
Very good. KB9SGY. Welcome, David. I think I've heard you here before. Next, we have K5KTX, Kelly. Would you like to check in on voice, Kelly?
This is Kilo 5, Kilo Tango X-Ray. Kelly, in point.
Very good, Kelly. I'd also like to recognize Sean, KB9SOQ. Excuse me, correction, KB9SOK. Sean, would you like to check in on voice and tell us where you're located? Sean must have stepped away. I think Sean's normally in Fort Worth. And I have a note here from Tom. I also like to check in KB8DAA, Catherine in Addison. Welcome. I would like to check into Skynet via any mode. If so, please come now. This is N5BB, net control. Well, that conveniently fills out one column on my small notepad. Okay, so let's move ahead. Do we have anybody with any general announcements? Anything related to amateur radio, astronomy, space, something of general interest to licensed hams? If you have any such items, please come now with your call sign only. Nothing heard. So I will add a few items related to the big event coming up on Monday. More about this later too, but the eclipse. There was an eclipse event in Irving, and an event related to space in general. At the Irving Public Library this afternoon at the South Library, and this is given by the National Space Society, and I was there, and we had an event and a talk about space and things, handed out NASA literature. They were handing out solar eclipse glasses, of course, at the library. Tomorrow there will be an event at the Frontiers of Flight Museum, which is on the east edge of Love Field. And this event will be called Sun Day. Get the joke. It's on Sunday. It's SUN-DAY. And this will be a prelude to the solar eclipse event. The event tomorrow, Sunday, is from 1 until, I believe, 5 p.m. You can look at their website. Double check that. Let's see. I can look it up also on my calendar. The event is tomorrow from, 1 to 5 p.m. The Frontiers of Flight Museum is located at 6911 Lemon Avenue. That's L-E-M-M-O-N. 2 M's. That's 6911 Lemon Avenue in Dallas. And the event tomorrow does not require pre-registration. The museum is open regular way. You go in and pay the entry fee, and you can look around. There will be the normal Frontiers of Flight Museum activities. There will be some special things involving the eclipse. People will be setting up for the big eclipse event on Monday. And among those groups will be the National Space Society, where I'll be there with them. And they will have some tables of NASA literature and literature about human activities in space. So that's the open event at the Frontiers of Flight Museum tomorrow, Sunday, from 1 to 5. Then on Monday, there will be a special eclipse event at the Frontiers of Flight Museum. All the tickets have sold out. So if you don't have a ticket, can't go. There's so many people going that they're going to be parking in an off-site parking lot and sending a shuttle bus to get people over there. There's not enough room in the parking lot. So it'll be a big event. Some people from National Space Society will be there, but I will not be there. There's also a huge event going on at the Cotton Bowl at Fair Park. You can find out by doing a web search about that, the eclipse event at the Cotton Bowl. Neil deGrasse Tyson, famous astronomer from the Hayden Planetarium, will be there as a special guest, as well as a number of people from NASA and NOAA, including administration-level people. So a lot of things going on there at the Cotton Bowl tomorrow. There's also a lot of other activities in all the cities in this area. In Irving alone, the city of Irving has 2 events, one in the Las Colinas area and one in Heritage Park downtown. So there's going to be events just all over the Metroplex. It's going to be very, very busy. We believe it will be. We hope the weather will cooperate. There is going to be an issue with the city of Dallas closing a lot of the exits from some of the highways, and I'm trying to find my message here. See if I can find it quickly. I may not be able to find it. They're going to be closing the area in Dallas that's essentially between I forget the spur number. Well, it's between I-35E on the west, I-30 on the south, Highway 75 on the east, and the Crosstown Expressway there on the north that goes by the Pro. That whole area will be, all the exits from those roads in downtown Dallas are going to be closed. You can enter the highways, but you can't exit them. From, I believe it's going to be noon until 2 p.m. I think is where they're going to have those roads closed. So you may not be able to get to downtown Dallas after about noon tomorrow. I'm sorry, I had the message pulled up and I have misplaced it. So be careful if you have to go to downtown Dallas tomorrow. Be sure you get there before noon, like if you're going to the Perot Museum and you're driving. Parking will be impossible anyway. Okay. Does anybody have any questions about where you can see? Of course, you can just walk outside if you're east of Fort Worth, or if you're in the center of Fort Worth. On the western edge of Fort Worth, you won't be able to see the full eclipse. But everywhere else, the DFW Metroplex, except maybe Denton, you will see the whole eclipse. Anybody have any comments or questions about the solar eclipse on Monday before we continue? This is N5BB, Skynet. Well, I was hoping somebody would check me out with some information, but that's okay. Very good. This is N5BB, Skynet Net Control. One other announcement, the Irving Amateur Radio related to the eclipse. Irving Amateur Radio Club will open our shack. We do have a shack at the back of the bingo hall, where we in that shack at about noon on Monday, the eclipse day. So from noon till about 2 o'clock, it'll be open. So if you want to come by and try operating or listening to the HF radios during the eclipse, you're welcome to do so. So that's the Irving Amateur Radio Club at the bingo hall where we have the HemFest, Mondays at noon. Okay. I think that's all the announcements I have. One last try. Any other announcements? N5BB, Skynet, or check-ins? Okay, that's taken plenty of time. Other announcements, AMSAT and satellite stuff in general. There's 2 local nets. On Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m. on the W5FC repeater. This repeater, 146.88 megahertz, 8 p.m. Central Time, Tuesday evenings. On Wednesday evenings at 9 p.m. on the Arlington 147.14 megahertz repeater, there's another HemSat satellite net. So you can talk to other people about amateur satellites on Tuesday evening, 8 p.m. on this frequency, and on Wednesday evening at 9 p.m. on the Arlington 147.14 megahertz repeater. On Mondays, the Dallas Amateur Radio Club hosts a number of nets on this frequency, on this repeater, at 7 p.m. First week of the month, Ham Fixings net about cooking. Second week, emergency communications. The third week, another Ham Fixings net about cooking. The fourth week of each month, the Geek Net, geeky things. And if there is a fifth Monday of a month, there isn't always, we have a surprise net. We told you what it was, it would be a surprise. It wouldn't be a surprise. This is all at 7 p.m. on Mondays on this frequency. I mentioned the net on Tuesday for MSAT. On Fridays, we have the Surge City Simulation Net on this repeater at 8 p.m. Learn about emergency communications via CERT. On Saturdays, we have the Night of Nets. 7 p.m., we have TechNet. And, of course, at 9 p.m. to 10:30 p.m., we have this net, Skynet. On Sundays, the first and third Sunday of each month, we have the Dallas Amateur Radio Club meeting on the air at 7 p.m., followed by the Races Training Net, where only Races people can check in, but anybody can listen, at 8 p.m. That's the first and third Sundays of each month. Each night at 6:30 p.m., we have the National Traffic System Training Net at 6:30 p.m. on this repeater. And then at 9:30 p.m., we have the same net, a late session on the Irving 146.72 megahertz Irving repeater, 9:30 p.m. National Traffic System Training Net. This is for sending message traffic like telegrams. Okay, we have an Afterglow net tonight. Tom, can you tell us about the Afterglow net? K5ICX and 5BB.
Yes, thank you, Bill. That's at 10:30 this evening or around that. It was about midnight, but here's my highly accurate synopsis of tonight's movie. Rutger Hauer was next. His old friend, but also his main competitor, Harrison Ford, had already auditioned. Ford walked through the door shaking his head in disbelief. He didn't reject it. Howard did his bit. 19 TVs off the shore of Orion. Harrison cut him off. You know, that line made no freaking sense to anyone. Why don't you just stuff that pigeon where the sun don't shine? Harrison was obviously picked about his projection. Howard walked through the door, saw the director downing his fifth rum and coke for the day. The director whispered under his breath, "The counter, the guy with the pigeon." Join us for the future detective thriller, With Second, from 1992, tonight at 10:30 p.m. Be there or where or something. Thank you, Bill.
Well, thank you, Tom. I'd like to correct my earlier message about the road closures in downtown Dallas on Monday. They're doing these rolling road closures into downtown Dallas from about 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. So the eclipse is going to be between the partial eclipse from 12:23 to 3:02. And the total coverage, the total eclipse is going to be about 140. So the city of Dallas is going to close roughly from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m., rolling road closures off of the highways into downtown Dallas. And the area affected is going to be the area from I-35E on the west side, I-30 on the south side, I-345 and Woodall Rogers Freeway, kind of on the north side, and then Highway 75 kind of on the east side. So that will be the area in downtown Dallas that's going to be you can get onto the highway, but you can't get off. I think they're trying to let people get out after the eclipse. That's why they're doing this. Okay. So, next, we have any additional check-ins. Any additional check-ins, please come now to Skynet. This is N5BB. Okay. I don't see any other check-ins on Echolink. Oh, Joe, KG5ZMG. Did you want to check in?
Golf 5, Zulu Mike Golf. This is Joe in Arlington.
We got you, Joe, KG5ZMG. I may have doubled with you. Thank you very much. Okay, next, Tom. Since Chaz isn't here, can you read the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events? When and where you can look through a telescope. K5ICX, this is N5BB, the Dallas Amateur Radio Club Skynet. Take it away, Tom.
Yeah, thank you, Bill. Chaz sent me a cryptic message and said that he was relocating towards the eclipse, so he must know something that we don't. So he asked me to go ahead and do his portion for tonight. So I'm doing just that. This one is for the next TAS, Texas Astronomical Society Club meeting will be on Friday, April 26th. The meeting is to be held at 7:30 in person at the University of Texas of Dallas and also be held on Zoom. Speaker will be TAS members talking about the total solar eclipse results. Saturday night public Saturday night public including sessions continue. Skynet fixed on Saturday night so that there's an opportunity for live reports from the TAS public including sessions. The first Saturday of the month, stargazing is held at Fairview. Tonight's stargazing was canceled due to clouds. Check the TAS website at texasastro.org for up-to-date information and details about meetings by IC.
Very good. Thank you, Tom. Okay, next I see one additional person on Echolink, KI5BPZ. Would you like a check-in on voice or text? If so, please give us your name and location. KI5BPZ. This is N5BB with Skynet. Okay, I see that Stephen in Bedford. Very good, Stephen.
It's KI5BPZ, Stephen in Bedford, Texas. Good evening.
And welcome to you, Stephen, KI5BPZ. We have you. Thank you very much for checking in. Do we have any other check-ins to Skynet?
Kilo Bravo 5, Delta Mike Charlie, Brian and Roanoke.
And I recognize KB5DMC. Brian. Anybody else? Okay, next we have National Space Society events and activities. That's N5BB, I happen to be the membership director and the director at large for the National Space Society North Texas chapter. This is a nonprofit group interested in popularizing human activities in space. Our local chapter meets on the second Sunday afternoon of each month, starting at 3:30 p.m., with a presentation beginning at 4. The next meeting will be on Sunday, April the 14th. That's a week from tomorrow, at Spring Creek Barbecue in Irving, the southwest corner of Highway 183 and Beltline Road. Our virtual speaker will have a projector there so you can see her, or you can log in remotely, virtually, and see her. Will be Ms. Inanga D. Fake, or Fake, I'm not sure you pronounce her last name. She's the Aerospace Director of the National Society of Black Engineers. Her topic will be Defining the Future Through Policy, White House National Space Council Overview. Her talk will start at 4 p.m. Central Time. If you have any interest in attending this meeting in person or virtually over WebEx or in joining the National Space Society, please contact Bill Byram at space@byram.net. That's BYROM.net, or N5BB@ARRL.net. National Space Society North Texas chapter was at the Irving South Library today discussing space activities. We'll be at Sunday at the Frontiers of Flight Museum in Dallas, tomorrow and Monday for eclipse-related events. We'll also be at the Good Urban Barbecue in Richardson on Friday evening, April the 12th, from 5 to 9 p.m. for Yuri's Night. You might say, what's Yuri's Night? Well, this is the anniversary of the launch of Yuri Gagarin from the Soviet Union, who is the first human in space. Yuri's Night, a yearly event. April the 12th, 5 to 9 p.m. Be there or be square in Richardson at Good Urban Barbecue. Okay, you can find the National Space Society of North Texas website at NTX, that stands for North Texas, .nss.org. That's ntx.nss.org. National Space Society of North Texas has a Facebook page. Just type that into the search box. If you have any other questions, of course, reach me in 5BB. So, before we go ahead with the next, do we have any other check-ins? This is N5BB, Net Control. And this is Skynet. So the discussion topic of the evening, initially, Max K5SZB told us about Tom Smith, K5TCS, who is an astronomer from Weed, New Mexico, who is visiting here. And I think that Tom wants to speak to us a little bit here and tell us some things. I think it's about his Dark Ridge Observatory. But maybe he has some information about the eclipse also. Tom, K5TCS, K5TCS. Take it away. Would you like to speak for a few minutes? This is N5BB, Net Control, Skynet.
Yeah, thank you. This is K5TCS Tom, and yes, from Weed, New Mexico. I do have an observatory. It is called the Dark Ridge Observatory, and I operate at 7,100 feet in elevation. I'm what you might consider to be like an advanced amateur. I do observations of spectral interferometry of extremely close double stars using very large equipment. Every year, we take a group of students right now to Mount Wilson in California. We operate the 60-inch telescope up there doing speckle for 4 or 5 nights. From that information, papers are written, actual reviewed papers that get published, and it's really an exciting event to be able to see students with their little minds just kind of light up when they get a chance to really do this stuff. So, and the students I'm talking about are undergraduate and high school students. I've been operating my observatory. I built it in 2007 when I started building the one in Weed. And I've operated that running the APAS system, that's the AABSO's Photometric All Sky Survey, for 9 years. I set up telescopes in my observatory, and I also set them up down at CTIO in Chile, Cerro Tololo. Ran that survey we ran that for nine years, and in fact, my data is entered in the UCAC 4 catalog. This is K5TCS break. So I do enjoy observations. I do a lot of science work mostly. I've been doing this for quite a while. I also have a background in nuclear engineering, submarines. I operate submarines and taught nuclear power school for about 4 years. So I have got a very interesting background as far as diversification. I can do mechanical, electrical, electronic, pretty much anything you can think of, but I am not a master of any of it. I am an extra, K5TCS, I am an extra, and I enjoy also testing. I like getting new hams excited about getting a license. So any of you that have the ability to do that, to be a VE, please do that. It's just amazing. So many great people are both. So if you have questions, please ask. This K5TCS, stand by.
Okay, does anybody have any questions for Tom?
Okay, nothing heard. You guys have a great net here, and enjoy the night. Make sure you get a chance to get out, and don't be discouraged if you don't get a chance to have clear skies to see the eclipse on Monday, because just the fact that you're willing to go out and look, that's a big deal. And you will probably be able to see some effect no matter what, if it just happens to be darkening of the sky around you. So get out there and enjoy it. K5TCS, clear.
Thank you very much, Tom. That was very interesting. And so you can find you can learn more about the group by looking for up aavso.org. That's or I'll say it phonetically, Alpha Alpha Victor Sierra Oscar, aavso.org, and look for the Dark Ridge Observatory. There's pictures in there and other interesting things about their staff and everything. Thank you very much, Tom. We really appreciate it. And this net goes on every Saturday night, and about a lot of interesting things about astronomy and things that humans do in space. Do we have any other check-ins before I move ahead? This is N5BB Skynet, run by the Dallas Amateur Radio Club. Okay, we thank Tom for that interesting information, and we hope he. Oh, by the way, when you said in case it's cloudy, I have been at a cloudy eclipse, the one that came through a few years ago. Was it 7 years ago? It went through Missouri. I drove up there. Turned out to be pretty cloudy, but when you're in the total eclipse zone, it gets extremely dark. When I say dark, it's nighttime. It's completely dark during the middle of the eclipse. So even if there's some clouds, it will still be just awesome. It gets really dark, and the animals and things do funny things, and it's just really weird. Okay, next I've got some items about the Voyager 1 spacecraft. This is N5BB. Engineers have confirmed that a small portion of corrupted memory in one of the computers aboard NASA's Voyager 1 has been causing the spacecraft to send unreadable science and engineering data to Earth since last November. It's called the Flight Data Subsystem, or FDS. The computer is responsible for packaging the probe's science and engineering data before the Telemetry Modulation Unit, TMU, and radio transmitters send the data to Earth. In early March, the team issued a poke command to prompt the spacecraft to send back a readout from the FDS memory, which includes the computer's software code as well as variables. That's values used that can change based on commands from the Earth or the status of the spacecraft. Using the readout, the team has confirmed that about 3% of the FDS memory has been corrupted, preventing the computer from carrying out normal operations. This is N5BB, Skynet, net control. The Voyager team suspects that a single chip responsible for storing part of the altered portion of the FDS memory isn't working. Engineers can't determine with certainty what caused the issue. Two possibilities are that the chip could have been hit by an energetic particle from outer space, or that it simply may have been worn out after 46 years. That's right, 46 years. Although it may take weeks or months, engineers are optimistic they can find a way for the FDS to operate normally without the unusable memory hardware. And that would enable Voyager 1 to begin returning science and engineering data again. Launched in 1977. I'm sure before a number of you listening were born. Launched in 1977, the twin Voyager spacecraft, Voyager 1 and 2, flew by Saturn and Jupiter. And Voyager 2 also flew by Uranus and Neptune. They are both exploring interstellar space at this time, outside the bubble of particles and magnetic fields created by the sun, called the heliosphere. Voyager 2 continues to operate normally since 1977. This is N5BB, Skynet. Next, the biggest ever digital camera heads to Chile. The 3200 megapixel, let me repeat that, 3,200 megapixel digital camera that will serve as the heart of the Vera C. Rubin Observatory is complete and will head to Chile for integration, researchers announced this last week. It was built at the SLAC, the National Accelerator Laboratory in California. The 3,000-kilogram digital camera, the largest ever built and roughly the size of a small car, is designed to survey the full southern night sky every 3 nights in unprecedented resolution from atop Cerro Pacon in the Andes Mountain. Once the camera is attached to its mirrors at the observatory, it will search for signs of dark energy and matter, looking for their effects by measuring distance with the help of pulsating stars. That's variable stars. It'll gauge minute distortions in distant objects created when light bends around intervening matter, which offers clues to how dark energy is driving the universe's expansion. It'll also capture a multitude of fast-changing objects, such as supernova, and log an enormous haul of new asteroids and icy objects in the solar system. First light for the observatory, funded by the Department of Energy and the National Science Foundation, is expected next year. And from another source of information, scientists and engineers have announced the completion of the Legacy Survey of Time and Space and Time. This is LSST, the largest camera ever built. It took almost 2 decades to build. This 3,200 megapixel instrument will form the heart of the 8.4 meter Simone Rubin Observatory in the Andes. First proposed some 3 decades ago to help study the nature of dark matter, the LSST has been built at the SLAC, the National Accelerator Laboratory. It's about 3 meters by 1.65 meters, roughly the size of a small car, mass of 3,000 kilograms. It includes 3 lenses, which have been constructed at the Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory. The biggest is 1.57 meters in diameter and is the largest high-performance optical lens ever made. The LSST has now completed a program of rigorous testing. Will be shipped to Chile, where it will be installed atop the Survey telescope later this year. The greatest movie of all time. The resolution of 3,200 megapixels is about 200 times larger than a high-end consumer camera. This means they can take hundreds of ultra-high definition TVs would be required to display just one of its images at full size, because there's so many pixels. The images are so detailed it could resolve a golf ball from around 15 miles away while covering a swath of the sky 7 times wider than the full moon, to SLAC physicist Aaron Rudman, who is deputy director of the observatory and leads construction of the camera. These images with billions of stars and galaxies will help unlock the secrets of the universe. Beginning next year, this LSST telescope will spend over 3 or 4 nights to take a complete picture of the southern night sky. It'll replicate this process for over a decade to produce almost 1,000 full images of the sky. With the completion of the unique LSST camera, we'll soon start producing the greatest movie of all time, the most informative map of the night sky ever assembled. Be used to observe the universe in unprecedented detail, plotting positions and measuring the brightness of objects in the sky to help improving our understanding of dark matter and dark energy, which is driving the expansion of the universe. It'll examine 20 billion galaxies, some 10% of the galaxies predicted to exist in the observable universe. This is N5BB. The observatory will also be used to produce the most detailed star map of the Milky Way, with the expectation to image 17 billion stars, as well as catalog some 6 million small objects within our solar system, including asteroids. Okay, that's it. This is N5BB, Skynet, sponsored by the Dallas Amateur Radio Club. Do we have any check-ins? Next is time for What's Up, which you can see if you look up. Tom General, KU5ICX, can you read the text? This is N5BB, Skynet. Over to you, Tom.
Thank you, Bill. This is KU5ICX. I'm going to go ahead and read what Chaz brought us. On April 1st, the moon phase was at its 3rd quarter. So the current phase of the moon is the waning crescent. On April 8th is a new moon, an empty total solar eclipse for us here in North Texas. More on that later, he says. On April 15th is the first quarter of the quarter phase of the moon. On April 19th, the moon is in half its orbit that is farther from the universe at a distance of 405,623 kilometers. On April 23rd, the moon will be full. May 1st, the moon will be at its 3rd quarter phase. On May 5th, the moon is at perigee, which is the point of the moon's orbit that is closest to the Earth at a distance of 3,163 kilometers. On April 7th, there is conjunction of the moon and Venus in the eastern morning sky. There is occultation of Venus by the moon during the daytime on April 7th. And also, occultation occurs when the moon moves between the planet Venus and Earth, which blocks Venus from our view. You may be able to observe this event with just your two eyes, but binoculars would be helpful. Be careful not to look at the sun with the binoculars. Appearance of Venus occurs at 11:17 Central Daylight Time and reemerges at 11:45 a.m. Central Daylight. Picture of Venus next to the moon just before the daytime occultation was taken by Chad on December 7, 2016 for the science. Remember that we have another solar eclipse coming in less than 9 days. Well, actually, it will be Monday. Solar eclipse is when the moon is in between the Earth and the sun, and for a few lucky people on the Earth, blocks some or all the sun from view. On April 8th, this Monday, is total solar eclipse for North Texas. And it's been mentioned everywhere. Chaz is going to mention here about Brookhaven campus. Home base, the sun will be completely blocked out around 3 minutes and 20 seconds between 1:41 and 1:44 p.m. During that time, called totality, you'll be able to see stars in the sky just like you were in twilight. The next total solar eclipse visible from North Texas will be on July 9th, 2017. So this solar eclipse is a very big deal since it only happens every 300 years in North Texas. Downtown Dallas hotels have been booked for months. Forget it. Downtown Dallas will be closed that day for the Eclipse Festival. Traffic will be crazy that day. You've heard all about it. And there will be many closed. On April 10th, you should see a conjunction of Mars, Saturn, early morning, east and south sky. Also on April 10th, there's a conjunction of the Moon and Jupiter and Uranus in the west, northwestern sky. On April 13th is a conjunction of the Moon and Vesta in the western sky. You'll need at least a pair of binoculars to see Vesta. On April 14th, look for a conjunction again of the Moon and Castor and Pallas in the western sky. And that's it. Boy, that was quick, but to the point. Do any of you out there in radio and have any questions or any skills on any of the information, or just in general astronomy, have a general astronomy question? I'm not the expert, but there's a whole bunch of people on here, so ask away if you do have a question. Please come to the call. Okay, good. All the world's questions, universal questions have been answered. So as the moon wanes, so do these words from this segment of Skynet. They say, keep well, pray for a world. It's the only one where you can live, at least right now. Well, and in orbit, too. Not forget that. Until next time, actually, I'll be doing another Skynet segment in just a few minutes. So keep looking up so you know what's up. And that's it for me for now. Back to KD5 ICM.
Okay, thank you, Tom. This is N5BB Skynet. By the way, there was a eclipse that came through Dallas and Fort Worth on July the 29th, 1878. And Dallas Morning News had some photographs of a bunch of people with some telescopes set up in Fort Worth. So the cities of Dallas and Fort Worth were pretty new in 1878 when that eclipse came through. Okay, next is time. Do we have any other check-ins? Kelly's up next, but do we have any other check-ins to Skynet? This is N5BB. Kelly, tell us about space exploration and space history. K5KTX. Go ahead, N5BB.
Good evening, everyone. This is K5KTX. Well, almost 9 years ago, back in March of 2015, we had a very special guest here on Skynet. I had the great privilege to interview a fellow ham radio operator, KD5 MZT, a.k.a. astronaut Don Pettit, live from the Comanche Springs Astronomy campus in West Texas. I recently found out from some astronomy buddies who are friends with Dr. Pettit at the space station, he will serve as a flight engineer and member of the Expedition 7172 crew. After blasting off to space, Pettit will conduct scientific investigations and technology demonstrations to help prepare crew for future space missions. He will launch on the Roscosmos Soyuz MS-26 spacecraft in September of 2024, accompanied by Roscosmos cosmonauts Alexei Ovchinin and Ivan Wagner. The trio will spend approximately 6 months aboard the orbital laboratory. Native from Silverton, Oregon, Pettit holds a bachelor's degree in chemical engineering from Oregon State University, Corvallis, and a doctorate in chemical engineering from the University of Arizona, Tucson. Prior to his career with NASA, Pettit worked as a staff scientist at the Los Alamos National Laboratory in New Mexico. NASA selected Pettit as an astronaut in 1996. A veteran of 3 space flights, he made integral advancements in technology and demonstrations for human exploration. He served as a science officer for Expedition 6 in 2003, operated the robotic arm for STS-126 Space Shuttle Endeavour in 2008, and served as a flight engineer for Expedition 3031 in 2012. Pettit has logged 370 days in space and conducted 2 spacewalks totaling 13 hours and 17 minutes. The Expedition 6 crew launched on STS-113 Space Shuttle Endeavour, expecting to return on STS-114 Space Shuttle Discovery after a 2.5-month mission. Following the Space Shuttle Columbia accident that grounded the shuttle fleet, the crew returned on the Soyuz TMA-1 spacecraft after 5.5 months, landing in Kazakhstan. On his next 16-day mission, STS-126, Pettit helped expand the living quarters of the space station and installed a regenerative life support system to reclaim potable water from urine. During Expedition 3031, Pettit also captured the first commercial cargo spacecraft, the SpaceX Dragon, using the robotic arm. Now moving on to space in NASA history this past week, beginning with April the 1st back in 1960, the first experimental weather satellite was launched. The TIROS program, Television Infrared Observation Satellite, was NASA's first experimental step to determine if satellites could be useful in the study of Earth. At that time, the effectiveness of satellite observations was still unproven. Since satellites were a new technology, the TIROS program also tested various design issues for spacecraft, instruments, data, and operational parameters. The goal was to improve satellite applications for Earth-bound decisions, such as should we evacuate the coast because of the hurricane. April the 2nd, back in 1958, President Eisenhower proposed the creation of what is now NASA in an article of draft legislation sent to Congress. He originally proposed to establish a National Aeronautics and Space Agency built around the National Advisory Committee for Aeronautics, or NACA. The word agency was changed to administration at the behest of Eileen Galloway, who worked for the Congressional Research Service. She believed that an administration with an administrator would have more power than an agency with a director. After hearings that spring, the legislation was passed, and Eisenhower signed the National Aeronautics and Space Act into law on July 29, 1958. NASA began formal operations on October 1st, 1958. Also, on April the 2nd, back in 1968, the film 2001, The Space Odyssey, premiered. It was produced and directed by Stanley Kubrick, with a screenplay by Kubrick and Arthur C. Clarke. The film's premise of an extensive space infrastructure, including a large orbiting space station staffed by international crew members with regular trips to a lunar base, was visionary and highly optimistic at a time of great uncertainty. But some of the technological advances imagined have since come to pass. April the 3rd, 1966, Luna 10 entered lunar orbit and became the first human-made object to orbit the moon or any celestial body beyond Earth. The Soviet probe launched on March 31st following the failure of a mission earlier that month, which had never left Earth orbit. During operation, over the course of 56 days, Luna 10 gathered data on the moon's magnetic field, its radiation belt, cosmic radiation, and micrometeoroid density. Tracking data showed that the spacecraft's orbit was being distorted by irregularities in the moon's gravitational field, provided first evidence that the moon's internal composition wasn't uniform. Last contact was made on May 30th, 1966. April the 5th, 1973, Pioneer 11 launched to study the asteroid belt, the environment around Jupiter and Saturn, solar winds, and cosmic rays. It was the first probe to encounter Saturn, the second to fly through the asteroid belt, and the second to fly by Jupiter. Later, Pioneer 11 became the second of 5 artificial objects to achieve an escape velocity, allowing it to leave the solar system. Due to power constraints and the vast distance to the probe, the last routine contact with the spacecraft was on September 30th, 1995, and the last good engineering data was received on November 24th, 1995. Also on April the 5th, back in 1991, launched aboard Space Shuttle Atlantis' STS-37 mission, the Compton Gamma Ray Observatory was a space telescope that made observations from Earth orbit for the next 9 years. It featured 4 main telescopes in one spacecraft covering X-rays and gamma rays, including various specialized sub-instruments and detectors. Named for Nobel Prize winner Arthur Holly Compton, the telescope was a part of NASA's Great Observatory series, along with the Hubble Space Telescope, Chandra X-ray Observatory, and Spitzer Space Telescope. It was the second to be launched following the Hubble Space Telescope. The mission ended on June 4th, 2000. Finally, we have several astronaut birthdays that were celebrated this past week. On March the 31st, back in 1957, Patrick Forrester, who was on Space Shuttle missions STS-105, 117, and 128. April 1st, 1946, William Fisher, who was part of Space Shuttle mission STS-51I. April 3rd, 1926, Gus Grissom, Mercury Redstone 4, Gemini 3, and unfortunately was lost in the Apollo 1 fire. April 5th, 1949, Judith Resnick, Space Shuttle missions STS-41D, and unfortunately she was lost on the Challenger mission STS-51L. And then April the 5th, 1950, Franklin Chain Diaz, who was on Space Shuttle missions STS-61C, STS-34, 46, 60, 75, 91, and 111. And that's all I've got this evening. Back to you, Bill. This is K5KTX.
Thank you, Kelly. Do we have any additional check-ins or comments on a check-in to Skynet? This is N5BB, Net Control.
Check in here. This is KQ5PZW.
Very good, Jay. We have you in the log. Okay. Next, we have Ms. Carolyn's Constellation of the Week. Tom, take it away. K5ICX and 5BB.
Yeah, thank you, Bill. I do have to pause here for a minute. Catherine with SCSA did have a question, I guess, to the question that was part of the last segment. I was wondering if people were relocating. If so, where would skies be better? And I don't know if I can answer this one if somebody else can answer this more accurately, but I believe the weather is changing. It looks like it may be improving for Monday. Not sure. I've seen a lot of conflicting reports of the weather weather is always hard to predict. Does anybody have any ideas, especially those very keen on getting photography, maybe are moving from their original location? And if so, do they have any comments about how they're doing that? I'll go ahead and ask. I'm not sure if anybody's moving. I'm certainly staying home that day no matter what. But if anyone else has anything they want to bring or suggest, please come now with the phone.
It's Max, KI, Sierra Zulu Bravo. I work for a company in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and several of my colleagues, I'm a space scientist for them, several of my colleagues are actually going to Burlington, Vermont. In that area, a couple of them are going to upstate New York, and they're looking at great weather up there. KI5, Sierra Zulu Bravo.
Very good, thanks. I assume probably a lot of it still is a lot of the draw. So we'll see. I keep watching daily here in the area what's been going on. Now we'll count the hourly. Whenever I check, I'll check it. Whenever I get online, I check the weather. So let's hope for clear skies on Monday. See what happens. Knowing, having been to the eclipse up in Kansas, the roads are going to be really difficult to navigate at certain times, especially the day of the eclipse. So unless you've got a time machine to go forward in time, I think you're going to be stuck at this late stage, especially those days. Okay, well, let me get started here with the Carolyn Constellation releases, of course, Complex Jazz, KF5 today. And here's what he says. The Carolyn Constellation release is in honor of science. Carolyn, she contributed to Skynet this week from the beginning of 2012 to May of 2016. Detailed look at one particular constellation each week. Since there's 6 easily visible constellations in Texas throughout the year, out of the 88 total constellations, Carolyn covered the entire sky as seen in the North Texas year. In her honor, we've continued the tradition of the constellation per week and named this segment after her, the Carolyn Constellation of the Week. With this week being Sexton, the Sexton, and Hydra, the water snake. Now, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on your jazz and everyone else, you decided to, fortunate or unfortunate one, has the jokes of the week. So here we go. What do you call a snake that is 3.14 inches long? You know the answer. A python. What do you call a snake who works for the government? This one too. A civil servant. Which are the best mathematicians amongst the snake family? Adders. What snake's favorite subject in school? I know this one too. History. What did the snake give to his wife? Previous one, a good night kiss. What do snakes use to clean their car windows? Right. Now on to the constellation Sextus, the constellation known by the name of Sextus, an instrument used to measure stellar positions and often used for celestial navigation. Sextus is one of the more modern constellations created by Johannes Hevelius, who named it to commemorate the loss of his own sextant, which was destroyed in a fire in his observatory in December of 1679. Hevelius originally named the constellation Sextus Uraniae, or Sextant of Uranium, but its name has since been shortened to merely Sextus. Urania was the fuse of astronomy. Stars, we got Alpha Sextus 10 fifth is the brightest star in the spectrum, measuring shining a magnitude of 4 plus 4.45. The only other star in spectrum brighter than this magnitude is a white A-type giant, approximately 285 light years from Earth. Alpha Sextus lies less than a quarter of a degree south of the celestial equator. Beta Sextus 10 this is a blue-white type dwarf located approximately 406 light years from Earth. is slightly variable, and it varies slightly from plus 5 to plus 5.10 magnitude in a 15-day period. NGC 3115, that's the next slide, I guess, is nicknamed the Spindle Galaxy. It is best known to the sky object inspection, the only object inspection discussed in detail in Vernon's Celestial Handbook. Vernon wrote that the NGC 3115 was originally thought to be flat to the elliptical galaxy in Site 7, but Palomar 200 discovery of a flat equatorial plane surrounding the nucleus led to reclassification as S0 galaxy, or perhaps 7F0 position. Today is generally classified as an S0 lenticular galaxy. Next is the section dwarf spheroidal, a low luminosity dwarf elliptical galaxy designation. This is a satellite of the Milky Way discovered fairly recently in 1990. It's an eighth dwarf satellite galaxy of the Milky Way. It's about 290,000 light years from the black center. It shines at a magnitude 12, which doesn't sound very faint for its challenging object, until you realize that this light is spread over an area of 90 by 65 arc minutes in size. Definitely a MIO, and it's probably only observable photographically. Next, we're going to talk about Hydra, the water snake. It's the largest constellation in the sky and occupies an area of 1,500 square degrees of the night sky. It lies in the southern celestial hemisphere, stretching across 102.5 degrees. This constellation was first cataloged by Greek astronomer Ptolemy in the 2nd century. Hydra's constellation is usually associated with the second of Hercules' labors in Greek mythology. Hydra was a giant multi-headed creature. In mythology, it had 9 heads, and one of them was immortal. The celestial Hydra is depicted with only one head, presumably the immortal one. On to the stars, there's Alfred, the brightest star in Hydra, magnitude 1.96. It's named Alfred is derived from the Arabic word meaning the solitary one. It's appropriate because it is relatively isolated from the other bright stars. It's also known as Cor Hydrae, which means the dragon card. In a telescope, Alfred appears to have a yellowish tint to it. Epsilon Hydrae, when observing Epsilon, seeing the transparency, you'll see and the transparency were both poor. Barely able to split it at an 8-inch diameter. The companion star was coming and going, mostly going. I looked at the Epsilon again later the same evening after the lines of split us clearer. This time I could split it better, perhaps the seeing had improved, or the telescope probably closer to a thermal equilibrium of both. And for this North Hydrate, easily double star split. First impression was that it looked like a distant pair of headlights. One may be a tiny bit dimmer and yellower than the other. Next are the Messier objects. We got M83, the southern Central galaxy, discovered by Nikolai Jodorowsky. I don't know, 1752. Messier added to his catalog in 1751. Current estimates place this galaxy at 15 light years away. So a face-on spiral, it appeared to have an oval shape instead of a circular one in a view to a telescope. In divergent position, some modeling just starting to hint at some structures visible in the 84 power ID. Larger instruments clearly show spiral arms, which what looks like a central bar and various knots and dark spots. Stephen James O'Meara says that this galaxy begs for higher power. Next is M68, or the globular cluster, discovered by Pierre Vincent in 1780. Messier added to his list shortly afterwards. M68 appears fainter than most Messiers of globular. M68 is no M13, however, in an 8-inch telescope that only starts to dissolve. At first glance, it's only make out a handful of individual stars. For vision will help to bring out stars. The rest of the cluster is nebulous. Next is M48. Find star clusters, binoculars, or microscopes. The low power or 40 power on the Dynamax to see all of it at once. While observing this cluster, my mind automatically connected the dots and drew a roughly triangular outline for the cluster. Many of the stars in this cluster make it area or shape, indicated by the ICX versus Skynet. Next is and we have the conclusion here. There are a few more astronomical leads observing program objects, the constellation Spectrum, and Hydra the water snake. I've just given you a sampling of some of those objects. The astronomical lead has, at last count, 77 different observing programs, most of which have around 100 objects. We observe just 10 different objects of the observing program each month. You can earn an observing certificate in about a year. And that is Miss Carolyn's constellation of the week. I do the water. Thank my friends Dave Hutchinson and Dennis Harwell for their research and work to keep sky objects that used, borrowed, and stolen for every Skynet. I also assign you to the website constellationguide.com for information. Next week, we will look at some car exits. That's it. Bill, I guess, let's see, 10:23, so I want to cut to Brenda. But I'll let you decide. This is KP5I here.
That's my plan, Tom. Okay, do we have any additional check-ins? I see Melinda, KF5GRH. Echolink. Melinda, would you like a check-in, or does anybody else like a check-in? This is N5BB, Skynet.
KF5GRH. Good evening, Bill and everyone. Good evening. KF5GRH.
Thank you very much. Any other check-ins? Okay, Brenda, tell us about recent astronomical discoveries, please. WB50ZL, this is N5BB, Skynet.
This is WB50ZL. It's an article here entitled Cheops detects a rainbow on an exoplanet. The Cheops Space Telescope, whose scientific operations center is based in the University of Geneva, that's UNIGE, I don't know how you pronounce that, is providing new information on the mysterious exoplanet WASP-76b. This ultra-hot giant is characterized by an asymmetry between the amount of light observed on its eastern terminator, the fictitious line that separates its night side from its day side, and that observed on its western terminator. This peculiarity is thought to be due to a glory, a luminous phenomenon similar to a rainbow, which occurs if the light from the star, the sun around which the exoplanet orbits, is reflected by clouds made up of a uniform substance. If this hypothesis is confirmed, this would be the first detection of this phenomenon outside our solar system. This work, carried out in collaboration with the European Space Agency and the University of Bern, is published in Astronomy and Astrophysics. WASP-76b is an ultra-hot giant planet orbiting its host star 12 times closer than Mercury orbits our sun. It receives more than 4,000 times the sun's radiation on Earth. The exoplanet is inflated by the intense radiation from its star. So although it is 10% less massive than our cousin Jupiter, it is also twice as big, explains Monica Lindell, an assistant professor in the Department of Astronomy of the UNIGE Faculty of Science and co-author of the study. Since its discovery in 2013, WASP-76b has been the subject of intense scrutiny by astronomers. A strangely hellish picture has emerged. One side of the planet is always facing its star, reaching temperatures of 2,400 degrees Celsius. Elements that would form rocks on Earth melt and evaporate here before condensing on the slightly cooler night side, creating clouds of iron that drip molten iron rain. One of the most disturbing observations for astronomers is the asymmetry between the planet's two terminators. The terminator, they already told us that. To solve this mystery, astronomers used no fewer than 23 observations from the Cheops space telescope spread over 3 years. The ESA satellite, which is piloted by Switzerland and has its scientific operations center at the UNIJ Department of Astronomy, observed numerous secondary eclipses of the planet when it passes behind its star, and several phase curves continuous observation during a complete revolution of the planet. Combining these new data with those from other telescopes, TESS, Hubble, and Spitzer, the astronomers were able to put forward a surprising hypothesis to explain the excess luminous flux on the eastern side of the planet. This unexpected glow could be caused by a strong, localized, and anisotropic reflection, i.e., one that depends on direction, what we call a glory, explains Oliver Dimangion, researcher at the Instituto de Astrofísica y Ciencias de Espacio in Portugal and lead author of the study. Glories are phenomena on Earth. They have also been observed on Venus. The effect, similar to a rainbow, occurs when light is reflected by clouds made up of perfectly uniform droplets. In the case of Earth, the droplets are made out of water, but the nature of these droplets on WASP 76b remains mysterious. It could be iron, as this has already been detected on the planet's extremely hot atmosphere. The detection of this phenomenon on WASP 76b is the first of its kind outside our solar system.
I'm completely
The reason why no such glory has ever been observed outside our solar system is that this phenomenon requires very specific conditions. First of all, the atmospheric particles must be almost perfectly spherical, completely uniform, and sufficiently stable to be observed throughout a long time. These droplets have to be directly illuminated by the planet's host star, and the observer, in this case Cheops, must be in the right position, explains Oliver Dimangion. Further data will be needed to confirm with certainty that this intriguing excess of light on the eastern terminator of WASP 76b is a glory. This confirmation would attest to the presence of clouds made up of perfectly spherical droplets that have existed for at least 3 years, or that are constantly renewing themselves. For such clouds to persist, the temperature of the atmosphere would also have to be stable over time. A fascinating and detailed insight into what could be happening on WASP 76b. Detecting such tiny phenomena at such a great distance will enable scientists and engineers to identify others that are just as crucial. For example, the reflection of starlight off liquid lakes and oceans, a necessary condition for habitability. Okay, back to Ned. This was from ScienceDaily.com. This is WB50ZL.
Very good. Thank you, Brenda. Well, we're at 10:30, so I'm going to give a last call. Are there any additional check-ins, or does anybody have any other questions or comments for the net? This is N5BB, Skynet.
Yeah, this is Max, KI5 Sierra Zulu Bravo. I just wanted to make one point this week. The White House Office of Science Technology Policy issued a notice that by 2026, the U.S. would be adopting a Lunar Coordinated Time, LTC, in the space norms for lunar time. And they're doing this because we have, obviously, missions scheduled for lunar stakeholding by that time. So we really need to do this, as well as internet and other capacities on the moon by that time. KI5 Sierra Zulu Bravo is clear.
Hey, thanks, Max. Do we have any other comments, questions, or check-ins before I close the net? This is N5BB, Skynet. Okay, tonight we had 28 hams participating on the air. I want to thank everybody who checked in this evening. We hope you'll join us here next week and every Saturday night at 9 p.m. to discuss astronomy, space, and space exploration. On this net, the sky is never the limit. We're always looking for net control stations for this and all the other Dallas Amateur Radio Club nets. If you'd like to help, send an email to nets@w5fc.org. You can follow topics and discussions about this net and astronomy in general on Facebook and Twitter, as well as our audio and visual video streams, etc., etc. Go to w5fc.org and you will find a wealth of information. Until next Saturday night, this is N5BB. Bill, I'll be closing a net at 10:33 p.m. local time. Returning the repeater to normal amateur use after the Afterglow net. 73, everybody. Enjoy the evening. Ad Astra. This is N5BB closing a net. Go ahead, Tom. K5ICX, N5BB.
Very good. Thank you, Bill. Thanks for doing a great net this evening. This is KE5ICX. We're going to take about a 5-minute break. Go powder your noses. Go get something to drink. Maybe popcorn. And we will discuss tonight's movie, Split Second, from 1992. Oh boy, you can hardly wait. We'll see you at 5. KE5ICX. All right, there's some mortal words to time of thing. Time is up. So, tonight's movie is a 1992 science fiction action horror film, still in every genre with the exception of time travel. I think you got this movie called Split Second. It is directed by Tony Nalen and Sharp and written by Gary Scott Thompson, co-production of the United States and the United Kingdom. It stars Rutger Hauer as a burnt-out police detective obsessively hunting down a serious serial killer who killed his partner several years ago. It also features Kim Crow, just offer Star Trek performance. Some other people you don't know, I won't mention. The film was released theatrically on May 1st, 1993, from critics, grossing $5.4 million on a budget of $7 million. How is that possible? Well, here is the plot. By the way, this is K5ITS. In the year 2008, that's the future, everyone, global warming and heavy rainfall has left large areas of London flooded. Rookie police officer Dick Durkin is assigned to partner with Harley Stone, a burnt-out typical veteran homicide detective who reports to his commanding officer, coffee and chocolate. By serial killers 3 years previously. Now these murders have begun again. Stone is a Oxford educated psychiatrist. Durkin is ordered to stick with Stone at all times and report any unstable behavior, and there's plenty of it. After investigating the four feet through several killings, they appear no closer to identifying the killer, though Stone shares some of the sort of psychic connection with him. The only clues are that the murders seem to be linked to the disciple and then the killer taken forward with impairment. Lab analysis of both left ear and one of the encounters shows that the killer possesses multiple recombinant DNA strands, somehow having absorbed the DNA of its victim, complicating matters in the return of Michelle Foster, the wife, with whom Stone had an affair. While attempting to figure out the killer's motives and patterns for Stone and Durkin to respond as Duncan Durkin uses up and starts to play with Stone. Durkin hypothesizes, it might as well be hypnotism, hypothesizes that the killer is haunting Stone's person, calling him as the killer's some location. Stone acquired a psychic link with the killer via the wound it dealt him. The killer then attacked the woman in Stone's park building, afterwards kidnapping Michelle while the detectives are downstairs. They track the killer deep into the flooded tunnels of the London underground subway system and discover the truth. The killer is not a human, but a large, horrific, and possibly demonic creature that is savage and bloodthirsty. Really. Durkin figures out that Stone escaped from it 10 years ago and is now fixated upon killing Stone, just as he previously killed Foster. Each killing and the appearance of the monster in an attempt to lure Stone. Finally, learning where the creature makes its lair, Stone and Durkin head to the area, armed and relying on Stone to find the monster just as it always finds him. They emerge into an abandoned underground train station to find Michelle suspended over the water as an obvious bait, but Stone frees her anyway, prompting the creature to show up. During the fight, Durkin wounds the creature's chest, allowing Stone to pull the monster's heart out and kill it. Yeah, pull the monster's heart out and kill it. However, as the three of them leave the station, bubbles of terror are seen breaking the surface of the water. And think that there may be more than one monster, but we know there won't be because this thing went down in flames. And a lot, about $3 million. How about that? Okay, and with that, I'm going to go ahead and tell you the rules of the game, and then of course, the check-in. So if anybody's listening for the first time, if you may be one of those, listen carefully. Everybody else, just roll your eyes or go top off your little refreshment. Essentially what we do is go 3 rounds. We discuss, first we do the check-in, then we actually see the movie. You do not have to see the movie to check in. We always like to have that question about whether their sanity, whether they want to actually see the films that we are talking about based on our reviews. So, first round will be discussing the plot, second round characterization, third round will be special effects and music and anything else, all the technical aspects of the film, or anything you may have read on the first round. So let's begin. I will take check-in. Please tell me to call sign your name and you can see tonight's movie, Split Second, from 1992. Let's begin. Now, come on, people. You know you can't because normally Tony breaks the ice. So he's not here tonight, so someone else is going to have to break the ice. And you don't know if I'm going to go in order or whether I'm going to mix it up. You may not be the first person to question about this film, so try.
This is WV5OZL. Name is Brendan. I'm in Dallas. And yes, I saw the movie.
November Victor 5, Foxtrot, Virginia, and Fort Worth. I have seen this movie.
Golf 5, Bravo to Whiskey. Yeah, of course, and I've seen the film.
Oh, I kept managed to tease 3 people out. I got WB5OZL, Brendan, Dallas, saw the film, NB5F, Virginia, Fort Worth, yes, you saw the film, and Jay, KG5BZW, I think he's still near Weatherford, and you saw the film. Anyone else want to check in now, please? Somebody call me.
50, Melissa in Third City.
Okay, I picked up one more. KI5GRH, Melissa, over in Third City. Did you see the film by chance, Melissa? Okay, I'm going to take that one as a no. She may not have heard me. I'm not regular on the net. This one, but at any rate. Okay, I'll cautiously put her down as... okay, we're going to start at the top of the list. And this may be a quick one tonight. Maybe not such a popular film, but let's find out, shall we? This one should be easy to blow to smithereens. So, we'll start with Brendan. WV5OZL. Brandon, what did you think about the plot for our fine film with Second? Thank you.
This is WV5OZL. Are you supposed to get a plot? It was predictable. It was a fairly typical. You got the whole apocalyptic thing going, and water in the streets, and lawlessness and violence. And, you know, the trope, you've got the main character who is a very damaged cop, but struggling to get by, even though he's in real trouble emotionally. You know, and then it gets weird. The murderer's not a human, but some kind of a monster. So now we're getting into fantasy land. I didn't think the plot was too hard to understand. It was pretty straightforward. It was okay. I enjoyed the movie. Honestly, I did. And despite its flaws and plot holes and everything, I did enjoy it. So, let's see. What else do I want to say? Yeah, this is just one of those things that you just wonder, why did anybody think it was a good idea to make this movie? And I'm not sure. I don't know at what point they were sitting around in a bar and going, wow, this would be a great movie. And you know, it lost money. That tells you something. And it had Rutger Hauer in it. He has made 1 million movies, and of course he was in Blade Runner, but I shouldn't talk about characters. It's just that I think the muddled plot was one reason why it lost money, and we couldn't figure out whether it was a comedy or not. You keep thinking, well, that's really stupid, well, that's really dumb, and then you realize they're trying to be funny, so that it plays a little differently. All right, turning it back, WB5OZL.
All right, thank you, Brenda, but I don't see anywhere in this a comedy, so, but yeah, NC5F, and Virginia, I noticed your comments last night, and a bunch of us were watching it remotely and chatting our responses that you were totally enthralled with this movie. Were you not? From 85 High School.
Oh, wow. Well, it was funnier than that movie about the teleporter guys. That was supposed to be a comedy. This movie was actually funnier than that one. I think it was supposed to have some of that buddy cop humor vibe. So we had a movie that the plot of it was trying to be Blade Runner, Lethal Weapon, something about Alien, Predator, maybe a little bit of, what else was it? Well, serial killer, you know, you got this, maybe like a little bit of Silence of the Lambs thrown in there. There was Water World, Spin, there were rats everywhere. I'm not sure why it was in the future. I don't know what that had to do with the plot of this. It could have been in the present day. At that time was 1992. It could have been in any city. I guess they thought, let's have it in London after it's been raining for 40 days because of global warming, and there's water everywhere. And all I could think about the whole time was how bad everything must have smelled and how pruny everybody's feet must have been, and how on earth did they not all have, like, trench foot or something. Fortunately, that crazy mash of ideas stolen from other movies made this pretty, it didn't have that sense of timing or suspense or style that made it the least bit disturbing or scary. It had lots of gross special effects and blood and hearts getting ripped out and, you know, I'm not sure why it was called Split Second, except for that this creature that was committing the crime, we at first thought it was a person, and it was the crimes happened insanely quickly. Maybe that was why it was called Split Second. There was something about how the cop guy could hear the creature's heartbeat. It was somehow connected to him. I think that was somewhere in your synopsis. It had all this mystical stuff, like from, like Brenda said, kind of fantasy. The creature was very like a cross between Alien and the Predator. I think Tom mentioned Predator last night, or somebody did. And that ugly thing from one of the one of the Spider-Man movies. It was a pretty ugly, gross-looking creature. The plot was, I'm trying to figure out why Michelle hung around this guy. That's character stuff, though, so I won't get into that. But I don't know. It was pretty straightforward. It's a mystery about who's killing people, why the DNA evidence is weird. It definitely crosses a whole bunch of different genres. And unsuccessfully, I would say it was just not very tight. It was not very, there was no motivation for most of what was happening, or why it was even in the future, or why it was in London, or why everything was underwater. I guess just to kind of give it more of a sense of atmosphere and danger. You can do all that with cinematography and good directing. So I thought the plot was pretty basic. You had lots of horror movie tropes, like lady that comes to stay at the guy's trashed out gross apartment, because of course in movies all bachelors who are emotionally troubled cops always have gross apartments, and I don't even know why she stayed there. I wouldn't have stayed there. I would have hopped a plane for the U.S. or something. She decided to stay there, and she's all like, oh yeah, I'll just stay here, and he just leaves her there, and like there's no danger at all, and then she decides, despite the fact that the place is a complete hole, she's like, oh, I'm just going to take a shower, and, the whole horror movie, oh, naked lady in the shower, like, just, everything's fine. And, of course, they try to do a little bit of a twist on that, so it doesn't go the direction you think. They kind of treat it like a red herring. But anyway, there were some attempts at some twists in the plot, and I noted those things where they tried to subvert expectations in areas. They made some effort at that. I'll give them a couple points for that. But it was just so much of a sprinkling of everything that had been popular, about the 5 or 10 years before that, it's just kind of, it was a mash of probably too many fingers in the stew, with everybody probably throwing ideas in. Like, oh, let's have this future cop thing, and then suddenly it turns into a fantasy horror thing, and everybody's throwing their 2 cents in, and that's why it turned out to be such a mash of things that were all kind of mixed together. Anyway, that's it for me. KE5 ICX and the net NV5F.
Hey, thank you, Virginia. You came up with way more material than I think I could possibly get out of that movie. Thanks for your comments. And thank you for naming every movie that they stole a plot from. That took some effort on your part to be able to find all those plots and throw them in that big dumpster fire that we saw. Okay, next up is Jay, KG5CZW. Welcome back, Jay. You saw the film. What did you think about the plot on KG5IC?
This is KG5BZW. Well, first of all, it's not strictly plot, but the world that, this is built, the story was built within. It just occurred to me, whole world, the whole story itself is just rather brittle. There's not enough explanation to why and how all of this fits together for me to really appreciate. I don't know. Virginia did cover a number of the things that I probably might have said. Overall, it just kind of. I know I can get into characterization and whatnot, but the way the characters interact, like this police officer, this former, I guess it is current detective, but I really had trouble even seeing how he fit within the world, and then of course the sidekick, which ended up on the same. Having the same vibes, I would say, after a near-death experience or something that the main character had. Well, okay, that's kind of cool in terms of subvert expectations. It's kind of, I'll admit I like that bit, but even though it was really good stuff. It's like, it was really hard to get into this world and really hard to, I literally had to pause every 30 minutes of this movie, go do something else. It's like, really, just, okay, fine, whatever. Well, fine, whatever, I'll watch another bit after, doing whatever I was going to do. Just to kind of forget. Enough of this movie. I will say this about the film. Unlike some films, granted, this might be, to do with mood. Sometimes I'm in a better mood. I think today maybe I was in a better mood when I watched this film. So, or more tolerant of just downright silliness, which this film was full of. So I did. Although there was I honestly about 2/3 of the way through, I was just like, oh, do I even want to watch the rest of this? But I did make it through, so I'll give it that. But things just did not really match. Yeah, it was a mashup of a whole bunch of ideas together, and in my opinion, it just didn't really mash well. Just, you can have some interesting stories if you mash up certain things, but this was just a little bit too much unexplained. Basic plot was, straightforward, but is just, you want to be invested in a world, and it's just really, or invested in the world and the characters, and it's just really hard to do with both. So, I could probably get into details, but I think a lot of it's already been covered. So, I'll hand it back to Net Control, K25BZW.
All right, thank you, Jay. I had a similar problem like you did, trying to fix this thing. Okay, let me see. Melissa, are you out there? Okay, I5PRH. Anything you want to say about the movie if you saw it? Otherwise, what do you think of horror films in general, especially creature features, or buddy cop films, or psychic connections, or aliens, or you name any movie you've seen, because part of the plot is in this factor. There, please go ahead. Bye-bye.
Just barely
barely heard you that time. Okay, my Echo Link was not working. This Cat 5GH? Wow. I don't even know what to say. I think you were asking me about any movie I've seen. I haven't seen any good movies in a long time. However, I am programming radios and getting ready for Eclipse Day. CERT will be deploying. But I'm listening. I'm trying to listen anyway when things are working over here. All right, that's it. Y'all have a good night. I'll be listening. Cat 5GH.
Yeah, well, we always give anybody who might be out there. First, we like to know when somebody's out there just to know that people are listening and we're putting them to sleep somehow, or that they're productive and managing to stay awake in spite of what we talk about. And the other part is that we've actually had some interesting sidebar type conversations about other movies that show up, or, you know, you think anything, this reminds me of the plot of a much better film, and you mentioned a much better film, and then we feel bad because we should have seen a much better film than the one we actually watched. So you serve a public service for this particular end, or anyone who brings something to others. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Okay, before I make my comments, I'll ask if anyone else would like to check in. Tonight's movie is Split Second from 1992. Nobody knows why the movie is called Split Second. I don't think the producers know. It has Rutger Hauer and Kit Cantrell as the Bolton. So if you would like to join us, please come to your call 980. Hearing none, this may be a short message, kind of sparse. My problem with the film is what I was chatting about last night. I think I fell asleep through part of this as well, believe it or not. So all that noise, I still managed to fall asleep. It's a loud noise, very loud film. But I think they were trying way too hard. If this had been considered a comedy, and I don't think it was going to be a comedy, I think that they looked at the script, the actors did, and said, you know what, maybe we should do something with this. They got thrown money at them to do it. We had a couple of good actors in here who really were given some terrible material, and they had to work off of each other. So maybe the idea was to pitch the producers to make them out as this crazy cop, number one, crazy girlfriend kind of thing. I don't know. And then sort of the bits of business with the psychiatrist and Howard or Stone in this case, kind of trading the role. He becomes this psychiatrist because he moves from this nerdy character. Well, that's characterization. But at any rate, the motivations to the film are way over the top. Everybody is smoking and spitting and standing in place. Big explosions that go nowhere. Why the alien? Where did that come from? Is this an evolution thing? Was it from outer space? Why the psychic connection? Why does that mean anything to anybody? Why is Stone so hell-bent on getting his partner killer brought to justice when his other partner ends up getting stuck in the same thing? He didn't go diving for him, nothing. He just stands there and watches. Just plain weird. The characters are relatively unsympathetic, and you have Rutger Hauer's a slob. There's pigeons. Again, what's the thing with pigeons with him? At any rate, that's kind of weird stuff. The jokes are, or the liners are just pitifully lame, silly, straightforward things. Just terrible. If it were a comedy, you'd write funnier, snappier dialogue. It's just standard phrases. It's more like "I'll be back" over and over again type of stuff. I wish I had the quotes. I should have written them down to show you how lame they were. But you know, the film, it wanted to be all things. It wanted to be creature feature. It wanted to be a buddy cop film. It kind of wanted to be a comedy, but I think it was unintended comedy, is what it actually was. It has a cult following because of that, but I think it's still sophomore to the whole thing, so I'm sure this is trying to get your mind. But why have these actors? You know, I don't think it would take people big money when something did. Dr. Howard came off Blade Runner, and he was well liked in that film. In fact, he stole the show in that film. And yet, here he's doing this with Lady Hawk, which everybody loves. Okay. I don't do this before or after the film, but in any case, I think that if you knew what was going to come out, have signed up for the film. So that's my story. Okay, let's go to the top of the list. We'll talk about characterization. We'll start with Brenda. Then we'll talk a little bit about Brenda. What you got on characterization for our mind? Which second? Two.
This is Debbie Pop OZL. Well, I love Rutger Hauer. He was so good in Lady Hawk and in just blanked Blade Runner. And I looked up his filmography. He's been in many movies. I think he did a good job in this. And the overall failure of the movie is not his fault. He just didn't have much to work with. I think the plot was the main problem with this thing. Plus, it was just, I don't know, well, of course it's implausible. We got a monster. Monsters aren't real. But that's okay. There's a lot of monster movies. Anyway, so I liked him. I'm embarrassed that I didn't know who his Michelle was. And then looked it up as Kim Cattrall, who, of course, is a name I recognize from Star Trek 6. But looking at her filmography, she was also Lassie in Porky's. That goes back a ways. And she was in Sex and the City, which I never watched, but apparently it was a major role. Of course, I mean, she's an incredible actress, just a really good actress. And the other guy, I was totally unfamiliar with him, but I thought he did a good job of it. And overall, I think all the characters were fine. The actors. Just, it's one of those things a little hard to watch, a little bit bloody, a little bit violent, and so the characters weren't really given a chance to have a lot of, a lot of depth. They were kind of one-dimensional. All right, back to net. WB follows it L.
Okay, thank you, Brenda. Well, you did really well trying to start the situation. But let's go to Virginia. ND5F, Virginia. Your thoughts on characterization or lack thereof?
Okay, first I'll have to start with my number one lame quote from this. It was his last big line he said, and I think it was supposed to be one of those things that was supposed to turn into a catchphrase when this movie hit it big. He had the heart of the alien in his hand, and he had just ripped it out of its rib cage somehow without a bone saw or anything. And as you noted last night, rib cages are very strong. And he had the alien's heart in his hand, and he was about to, I guess, just shoot it with his gun and somehow not shoot himself in the hand. And right before he did, he goes, "Sweet dreams." And that just was the icing on it for me. I was like, okay, this is the campiest piece of crap I've seen in a long time. I think they were trying to make him kind of quirky and lovable in some ways. Like they go back to the first crime scene and he's laying there in the chalk outline in the bloody bathroom or wherever that first lady was killed, and tried to get perspective on the crime from her point of view, I guess, as if that's going to help. He lived in that horrible apartment with, just gross, dirty dishes everywhere and pigeons everywhere and a Harley Davidson motorcycle. And then it turns out his first name is Harley, and he's got like Harley Davidson motorcycle signs and memorabilia, and they were trying to make him into a character that could be kind of iconic, and likable, with all his like endless chain smoking and chocolate eating and coffee drinking. They were trying to give him some quirks that would, maybe make him into sequel fodder. I don't know. And the same with the little partner guy who was the total opposite of him, who was this kind of nerdy, not very tough guy who talked about inappropriate things and was just weird. And I saw what they were trying to do. They were definitely going for the buddy cop character dichotomy sort of thing, juxtaposition of characters. And then you've got the standard, he gets suspended. Every cop has to, the hard-boiled cop that nobody understands what he's onto. He has to get suspended, and it definitely that I this isn't really a character thing, but the whole like attempt at like comedy in some kind of soggy dystopian, wannabe post-apocalyptic, it was just very weird combination. And there were so many other, minor characters, and the psychiatry people stuff, and the psychology of it, and and then just the higher ups in the police department, and I guess he's an expat who decided to live in the UK and be a policeman there, which is kind of, I guess, supposed to be sort of a juxtaposition, since, the police there are run quite differently than they are in the U.S. And, that guy had a lot of guns, and I guess they changed things in the UK because the police don't have guns over there. So anyway, lots of guns in this, lots of characters. I think they attempted to make Michelle, girly but tough, and she was Kim Cattrall was very likable. My favorite role of hers was the movie Mannequin, and it was in that mid-'80s time where it was very common to have sort of the magical kind of fish out of water, thing like Cocoon or Short Circuit, or Mannequin was where she was this, mannequin in a department store that came to life at night, and the little guy who works there who falls in love with her, and doesn't realize she's a mannequin, and it even has the movie even has G.W. Bailey as the chief of security of the department store, right on the heels of playing Captain Scroder in Short Circuit. I mean, it was such a mid-'80s like tropey movie, but that was my favorite thing that she played. Of course, she's good in Star Trek 6, and why she would go from Star Trek 6 to this, I have no idea. Like Brenda said, these actors are pretty A-list type actors who did the best they could with what they had, and they just had a big cluster of a movie that probably just had too many screenplay drafts. I'd be interested in like looking at the screenwriting credits screen, because usually if you have like two names on the same line with each other, followed by the word and then two more names on the next line with each other, followed by the word and a couple more names at the bottom, that means this has been written for hire and then rewritten by a couple of big big screenwriters, and then, tweaked up by a couple more screenwriters, and then by then it's been probably messed with by the directors and the producers and the studio, and by then it's just impossible to untangle, and I think that's what they had. So they did the best they could, and there were some kind of funny moments, and it did have a few little twists in it that you didn't, they threw you some kind of a real typical situation, and they made it go a different direction. So, I'll give them a little bit of credit on the acting, and the characters at least tried to be sort of quirky and interesting in B5S.
All right, thank you, Virginia, for the comment. Hey, AG5W, your thoughts on characterization for our fine film, split seconds of 1992.
With the KG5BW. The actors, you can't really blame the actors doing how they did. The actors did fine with what the material given. So can't really hate on those people. Tim's part, I don't think there was anything, particularly wrong with her. I did think, Harley. I had a lot of trouble. It's like Virginia said, it's like you could see what they were going for, but the execution left lots to be desired. And it's like how even, again, this is the world matchup that it's like, okay, how did the Kim's character even find interest in Harley? Just don't really understand. The scenes together were, I guess, fine. It's just, I never, it's just a bit of world building and just, okay, he's I don't know what the word I'm trying to say is, but the eccentric officer with a history that understands the situation, that's definitely what they were going for. But he just came off as just, kind of gross and a jerk, really. It's just like, I refuses to explain himself in a number of situations where I've been just the least effort to actually, go into an explanation of some sort, of some kind. I'd have to rewatch the film to say exactly what I'm talking about, but I really began to hate this because I was thinking, oh, God, they're going to have... And here's one thing where they just subverted expectations is I thought that, they're going to just have this officer, not, some sort of plot point where because the officer, is misunderstood because it doesn't explain stuff, whatever, and that, something is going to happen. And I don't think that really ever happened. In fact, there was just another, the buddy cop actually, started to understand, even though we don't really understand how that even happened. Nothing was really communicated by Harley to him or whatever. It was just happenstance of the happenstance. It was happenstance. Of course, he had the post-ways with or whatever the actor, the senior officer. I don't know police hierarchy, so I wouldn't quite know name, especially in the UK. Oh gosh, I did not like the character, and there's a reason, you know, you can have characters. There's me liking that vocabulary. There's reasons. There's characters you love to hate, and then there's just characters you just hate because they're just so dumb, and that's unfortunately I think that's the Harley character. So yeah, no, I don't love to hate anybody. Yeah, it wasn't. There were some redeeming aspects. I think that was more of the acting coming through, and you know, the actors coming through the poor character. But as far as you know, the actual a little grandpa here. It was really more the actor in what's the word? It's shining through the character than the character itself. Let's put it that way. Otherwise, okay, gotta give it. Have some mention for the monster. Actually, unfortunately, though, the monster was really just not easy and what the explanation is just horrible. Like, okay, fine. You can really see where they take together ideas with him, her, dad, whatever. We don't have we just know it's a monster. I want to give it points. The design of the character, this is more, you know, special effects. The design of the character was kind of cool. The story behind it was good. And I can't think of anything else, so I'll just leave it at that. KG5 BBW.
Okay, thank you, Jay. Let's see. Melissa's made her comment. So let's see. Anyone else out there want to check in? Please come to the call.
So, Bravo 9, Character Killer, Sean Fort Worth. Yes, I've seen Brenda's favorite movie.
Well, we were wondering where you were. We saw you checked in over on Echolink for hours now, and now you've woken from the dead. Okay, Sean, KB9SOK. You get to do 2 rounds with 1. What do you think about the plot, and what do you think about characterization from KB5 ICS?
This is KB9SOK. Yeah, I've been trying to get Echolink to let me transmit for about 3 hours now, and for some reason Echolink thinks that people are talking when they're not. But anyway, it's fixed. So, yeah, I agree with what everybody said. I was able to hear everybody's comments. I don't have a whole lot to really add. I'll just the other thing I would add is, and this is just the way I interpreted it, is that the reason why the monster existed was because of the global warming and the damage that had been done to the planet. And I think they're kind of insinuating that's why this creature was created or you know, mutated. So I think that was kind of the point. Yeah, I agree that the plot was pretty weak. We've seen this a million times to where, you know, an officer, either his partner gets killed or his family gets killed and he just goes crazy. We've seen this a few years before this Lethal Weapon came out, and it kind of feels like they were kind of somewhat going for that vibe, you know, the cop that was really a good cop, but he's acting crazy, and, you know, he's wanting to shoot everything, and that's kind of what this was, but just more extreme, and unfortunately not as executed as well. You know, the actors, I think, were fine in it, but the writing was just really, really rough. So it made it kind of hard to watch, to be honest. I see, as everybody said, what they were going for. And I think they intended this to be a sequel kind of situation because, they at the end he makes the big, speech about being there to go after the next monster. And so I think they thought this was going to become a thing. And, with their dry sense of humor and goofiness and extreme. And I think they just thought it would catch on, but it didn't, obviously, for the reasons everybody's talking about on air. I think the reason why the Michelle character tried to reconnect with him, because it did mention earlier in the film that that used to be his partner's girlfriend, which became his girlfriend, and so they had a prior relationship, and so I think she was truly concerned about him and wanted to try to reconnect. But still, yeah, that was one gross apartment, so why anybody would want to go see anybody there, I have no idea. But other than that, that's not really all I got to add to this one. I agree with what everybody says, so yeah, back to that. Thanks. KV9, okay.
All right, Sean, thanks. I'm going to do one more round, and we'll call it quits this evening. Glad you got Echo and working. Yeah, sometimes it's slow. When you get a lot of people on the net, it's very hard to break in. You can't transmit if there's any noise whatsoever coming in on the repeater. Yeah, gotcha. All right, this is the final round. We talked about special effects, music. You like Night and White Satin? Sure you do, because that was practically the only thing playing through the entire movie. There's that. There's the special effects. Okay, you like Neon? That's great. You like, well, you get it. So we'll start at the top. WB5OZL. Brenda, your final comments. Anything you want. Special effects, something. Go ahead.
WB5OZL. Well, I've always loved Nights in White Satin. We actually wore out that album and had to replace it with a new one. And I was just a huge Moody Blues fan. Saw them in concert several times. It's huge. So I don't mind that. I don't remember much about the music otherwise. However, reading here, Wendy was originally hired to compose this score, and then they rejected her score. Now, if you don't know who she is, she scored Clockwork Orange, The Shining, and Tron, among other things. She was very instrumental in developing electronic music, and I just can't imagine that they rejected her score. But it's kind of the story of this movie. They kept changing things. They kept rewriting the script. They changed the name of it. It was originally Black Tide, which that makes sense. I don't know why Split Second would make any sense on this. And they were changing directors and changing the story and writing it on the fly. And I think movies really suffer when they're treated that way. It's hard for make them come together in the end. And I think that's one thing we saw here is you just had an unsatisfying sense of it just not quite working. A lot of fake blood we saw, a lot of stunts, a lot of fighting, and that was all okay. I don't have any complaints with all that. All right, back to net, WB5OZL.
Okie dokie, thank you, Brenda. Next up, Virginia, NB5F. Virginia, what do you say? Is Night White Satin really that good? Did it help elevate it to a new level, a higher level? Tell us on KP5.
Okay, well, I did recognize the little Nights in White Satin theme that they put into the score of the movie a few minutes before the song actually appeared. I'm not sure what the song has to do with this. I like the song. I like Moody Blues. but I don't know how the song necessarily thematically fit into the movie. But it's a good song. And as to the comment about things being rewritten and changed, yeah, that usually doesn't work, but I'm going to take this as my opportunity to do my weekly, how I figured out a way to mention 2001, A Space Odyssey, which took nearly 4 years to make, and Kubrick and Clark started out with trying to figure out a plot, and then they finally said, hey, let's write a novel, and then we'll write the script based on the novel, and then we'll publish the novel, and then we'll put the movie out at about the same time. And they still never got a full, complete screenplay for that movie, and they were changing it, and Kubrick was distilling it down to the point where nobody even really knew what he was doing, and he wanted to have aliens, and he wanted to have an ending, and he just ran out of time, and he said, well, we couldn't come up with an alien that wouldn't be just mess up the whole thing, so we're just going to have to end it like this. And the last, 30 minutes of the movie is just this total trip out that I think the fact that he ended up in the white hotel room and wrapped it back around to Dave turning into a baby and then looking out over Earth is probably what saved that movie from being something that completely it blew people's minds anyway, but sometimes that can kind of work if you've got a really brilliant person who's he was a single-minded auteur, but this movie had just too many people probably based on Brenda's research on it. It is interesting to me that Wendy Carlos wrote a soundtrack that they didn't use because she, formerly Walter Carlos, she was very talented and pioneered the use of Moog synthesizers and did some amazing stuff with Bach and some really cool synthesized soundtracks that didn't sound cheesy and were way, music that was way cool. So that's crazy that the soundtrack alone might have saved this from being, as bad as it was. But the soundtrack was there. It wasn't intrusive in any way. Nights in White Satin is a good moody song. Moody Blues made a moody song, and it was kind of a moody attempt at a moody movie. There was water everywhere. It was dark. It was kind of noir, there was just wet pavement everywhere. I guess they were going for a moody feel. The special effects were fine. There was just blood everywhere, and it was not filmed in such a way. You guys have listened to me talk on here for a couple of years now, and I'm really sensitive, and if a movie's getting to me, I'll turn it off. And this was not handled cinematically or, by the director psychologically in any way that made it scary. I mean, it was supposed to be scary, but it was just a bunch of gore, and it was not psychologically, just didn't have any, it wasn't handled in any way, it wasn't paced or filmed in any way. It had that early 90s, like it reminded me that the filming of it was so not contrasty, and it reminded me of the early 90s Kenneth Branagh version of Frankenstein. It had that sort of lack of suspense that better contrast and better cinematography and an overall overarching aesthetic sense might have brought, but even the editing and the pacing didn't have that psychological effect. That there's movies that came out around the same time as this that I saw that I wish I'd never seen and I'll never see again because they were done so much more effectively in the scary department than this one. So there's a couple comments on music and effects, and I'm still not quite sure why it was in the future. There was no cool tech. There were big guns. That was about it. But there was no cool transportation technology. There was no sense that that did have a specific, purpose in the plot of the thing. So anyway, that's all for me. NB5F.
Okay, thank you, Virginia. I think you touched on something I was trying to figure out. Yeah, aesthetically, the film just works. It reads good on paper as far as kind of the overall high-level plot. Read through it, I see why they greenlit it to a certain extent, and then it gets mired down in all the details, and then visually, it works very well. Interesting comment about that, but you would have turned it off, but it's too incompetent to think about that. Okay, Jay, WJ, final comments. Whatever you want. You talk about special effects, music, or something that gets along the way. Please go ahead. 5 ICS.
This case about VW, this film made me wonder if it's just a certain string of films that I've seen that features Britain, not terribly in terms of looks of filming locations. Put it the UK or Britain or whatever, not exactly in a positive light. They're just like Max, just I don't know. Max, I'm just remembering Max Headroom with all the trashiness that was wherever the pirate station was, and like I don't know. It's been a while since I've seen Train Spotting. There's just something like, is this a trend of people that direct in the UK or whatever, tell stories in the UK, just have how just make things just trashy? I don't know. It just seems like anytime I'm seeing anything that just seems really trashy, it's always UK, which I've never been to UK, and I don't know anything about any trashiness, and I ain't exactly the most my house ain't exactly the most clean for sure, but man, they sure do kill it and making things look awfully gross. Let's put it that way. But I mean, y'all covering the MIDI blues song and all. Yeah, it gets on, but I don't know. Yeah, I forgot I was going to say. I just figured that the other thing was that for whatever reason, I figured they did want to use London. They did want to have a recognizable place, but they also wanted to have it transform. Well, what's the easiest way to transform a recognizable, at least in name? I don't know what the actual filming locations were, but recognizable in name but give it new properties. Well, put it in the future so something can happen to the place so that have water everywhere or whatever. That's literally the only thing I can think of that they use. The only reason I think that they need to put it in the future is just they need to transform London somehow. Why London? I don't know. Just whatever. I've already covered the monster. I don't know. Wise, sound wise, that didn't seem terrible. Control's makeup was great because I also didn't recognize her as. Admittedly, there's the wig and everything. It does look a little bit like a wig, but it's still it looked natural enough that, you know, I didn't immediately. In fact, it's funny because I saw before even starting this, I was like, Kim Charles in this film. Okay. Well, where is she? Oh, I've been staring at her for 20 minutes. So, I mean, take that as you will. Anyway, and anything else? I don't know that I got anything else. So I'll pass to whoever else. That's all I got. KG5 BCW.
Thank you, Jay. This is KG5 ICX. Next is Sean, KB9SOK. Sean, your final thoughts? Anything you want to say, or technical nature, music, special effects, lighting, sound, or it can be anything you want, or it can be both. Please go ahead. KG5 ICX.
This is KB9SOK. I have not a lot to add. I agree with what was said. The music was okay, but I agree it didn't really match the movie. Kind of like everything else in this movie, nothing quite fit. And that was just another example of it, unfortunately. You know, as far as, yeah, the sets were, you know, supposed to look pretty drabby, but there wasn't a whole lot of variety. I mean, we really didn't see, you know, we see them going down the same street multiple times in their Jeeps, and, you know, there just wasn't a whole lot of stuff to really give you that broad, you know, look of the city to see how bad a shape it's really in. But, yeah, everything was just kind of halfway done in this movie. Just not like it was really fully thought through, which hearing all the different rewrites and director changes, that makes a lot of sense now. It definitely has that feel that it kept changing direction. And my guess is the title was probably from the original draft of the film, which feel, and that's probably how it got its name. They probably should have updated it. Yeah, I agree with what was said. Don't have a whole lot to add on this round. Good luck to everybody tomorrow watching the eclipse, and looking forward to the next one. Back to net, KB9SOK.
Okie dokie, thank you, Sean. And the eclipse is Monday. There's some event tomorrow, but the eclipse is Monday. I took Monday off, so I didn't have to deal with the traffic. So look at my backyard. Hopefully it won't be cloudy. Okay. My final comments on the effects and all that. Everything about it just said 5551212. It was too self-aware. I mentioned self-aware before. In this case, it was to the extreme where it was corny. Now you can be funny with that. You can make it campy. But campiness also has to have some intelligence behind it, that it knows it's silly. And it does so in a way that makes characters likable or fun or whatever. In this film, I think the actors attempted to do that, but limited script that they have asked us to take it very far. There is a cult following, or so it says on social media. I don't know if it's true or not, but usually it's actors, but it isn't always. So you're in some ways, I don't think it seems a lot of action, therefore it may have that as this film, or one person said it has a follower, that one person spoke to people consider it a cult film. But it just tries to be smart, to be funny, and it wasn't funny enough. Well, jokes were playing into that were really jokes. They tried to turn them into jokes and then start. Some of the three-part take back and forth is okay, but again, it's very crude, rough stuff. It just really works. Good comedy, really shines. It shows the audience it works on multiple levels. Have that kind of cross-section. And there was none of that. Special effects, lighting in particular, it started out okay. It's like it's a tale of two movies. It started out okay with it's dark and it's neon light and water and the reflection and everything. And then London has been transformed and even the real club to a certain extent was gaming, although they go as an MCN thing a little over the top, I thought, silly, but not. It kind of lost that mystique. In the late 80s, there were a lot of films like that, and there was a lot of television shows that were like that, doing the mood lighting and the lodge, and interesting establishing shots, and weird angles, all those things. They were doing a lot of going back to the Germany a little bit. And it kind of started that way, but it didn't last very long. That's fast as that stuff. And some of the sets looked like that. They looked like they size the stuff that was done on stage and everything, especially film art gigs, which was over the top. Nobody would live like that, or want to live like that, especially if they were silly. And it was a distraction. That's why I say the 555-1212. The old telephone numbers that takes you out of the moment. You realize you're watching the movie. The whole thing felt like that. It was just watching the movie. Never got absorbed into the characterization, plot, nothing. None of it gelled well enough to do anything. I think they did this movie by the seat of their pants. I think the director said everything to say. That the first guy just said, I give up, I'm moving. I don't want my name on this. I don't want to talk about it. Just walked off the set. And anybody else working on it went, this is a ship. Let's just take our money and run. So unfortunately, even though it started out kind of promising, the first 10 minutes were interesting. After that, the first murder, I realized, we're in trouble. This is not a good film. Okay, for next week, we do have another film called The Mandela Effect. This one may be interesting. Not really so on Google. I'll send the information out to everybody so that you can check it out. See if that's before I go off and get distracted by other things tomorrow. Hope everybody enjoys the eclipse on Monday. Maybe we'll have clear skies. I don't know. We just have to see what happens. I've been eyeing things this time of the year. Sometimes we'll get clouds in the morning and we'll clear out the afternoon after it warms up. Maybe that will happen here, or it'll just stay clear. That was the nice thing. It's cold and clear. But we're too late into the season for that. So winter's over. And spring. Okay, that's it for me. Hope everyone had a good evening. And I'm falling asleep. I'm really tired. So catch y'all later. This is K5 ICX Clear.